It's Australia Day 2013, celebrating the founding of Australia as a penal colony in 1788. The convicts were the poor British and Irish.
Right. What's Australia Day mean to you?
Just a big celebration and all our country get all together and celebrate for a good country.
Do you think the first Australians have a role in Australia Day? Many of them are rather offended by it.
Are they? Why?
Well, because that's the day 225 years ago that we took their country.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, we all think of them anyway, too. That's why we all celebrate.
Do you think they have a special place, though, as it was their country for thousands of years? And
they could have their special place, but now it's everyone's place.
Right. They still live in very poor conditions, most of them.
Well, I suppose that's their fault, eh?
If they're part of our society too, they have to do the same as us and try and help things when they can, get work, don't you think? To be one of us. I know it's hard for them because nobody wants to employ them, do they?
They would say it's their country. When you say one of us, they would say, well, maybe it's the other way round.
Yes. Yes, I suppose, yeah, there is that, but
they own
from their
the country.
point,
They're the original owners.
Yeah, we came in with our flag and said, this is ours. I know, that's what makes it hard, doesn't it?
Well, over history, that's always happened, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Whoever
it's
comes
always
in
happened.
takes from the original.
Yeah. This is only through the media that I've heard, where they're drunk and they can't get up and they don't want to help themselves. You know, well, that's no good either, is it? You know, you've got to try and get them sober them up and say, well, you know, you can have a future.
Why are they living in such shocking conditions still there?
Well, I think that's what they want. They get offered a lot of things, but that's what they want.
You think they get offered a lot?
Yes, I've been into Central Australia and all that. And yeah, I think that's just how they like to live.
They like to live in that.
In their own. Yeah.
What about the people whose country it was in the beginning? What about them? They haven't got much to celebrate today, have they?
No, they do.
What?
Because you come to this country, mate, you're a part of this country.
No, they didn't come to this country. They were here to begin with.
They were here to begin with?
They had it for thousands of years.
They're all Australian, mate. Everybody that comes to this country is Australian.
Why do you think they find today a day of mourning, a day of offensive day, because it celebrates the taking of their country?
I do not believe that is an offensive. We are all Australian. And dead set, every single person walking past me right here, everybody.
Yeah.
They're Aussie. Doesn't matter if they're black, white, yellow, blue, green, whatever, man.
Yeah.
They're Aussie. We're all Australian. Are you Australian?
No.
You're not?
Irish.
How do you think the first Australians make of today? Because they haven't got a lot to celebrate, have they? The Aboriginal people.
In what way?
Well, 225 years ago, their country was taken from them.
See you later. You're full of shit, mate.
The fact remains that we've never left this country. We have never ceded any part of our country or signed that over to any other foreign settlers. That's Australian. We've never done that. None of our people have ever agreed to say, righto, you can take my country, but in exchange for that, I want some welfare funds. Our people have never been aware of such a transaction. What amazes me is there is not the hatred, because that's beneath our dignity to hate people. We have not got that. We have not got that anger. But as all people have to start thinking about righting the wrong, the awful wrong that continues to happen to us and ours.
The early birding traffic takes the narrowest bridge to Perth, while down the Swan at Applecross the boats lie at their berth.
This was the official 1960s vision of a suburban utopia in Australia's biggest and richest state, but it was dependent on airbrushing out an entire human community.
Ah, this is better than life for me. A day by the beach in the open sea.
Rottnest Express is the smoothest, fastest ferry service travelling to Rottnest Island. Rottnest Island is Western Australia's idyllic island getaway.
I'm travelling to Rottnest Island from Perth. Tourists call it Rotto. From 1838, it was a brutal prison that ought to be as notorious as Robben Island in South Africa. With me are Marion Mackay and Noel Nannup, two members of the Indigenous Noongar Nation. They know the truth about this island. When I asked Marianne to accompany me, she was fearful, until Noel offered to protect her from the sense of horror and injustice that awaited us. Rottnest Island was one of the British Empire's most isolated concentration camps, part of a genocidal history that's barely recognised in white Australia. On the beach, Noel performs a ceremony meant to protect us all.
So, if you scoop up a bit of sand, and then it's the Ngali Waga, like your body odour, will be on the sand. And when you throw it out there, the spirit here will know that you're here. Wara wearing Bolyakangan. Pabradan, Mudik Yinjin. Naladat Yining.
On the ferry over, I just picked this up.
Yep.
And here it is, Rottnest Island.
Yes.
And naively, I was waiting for a description in the historical section of something.
Yeah.
Not the horrors, but even a sanitised version of the concentration camp that was here.
Yeah.
There isn't anything.
No.
Historic Rottnest, here it is. Play and stay.
Enjoy the unique wonder of Rottnest Island and the harmonious surroundings of the Rottnest Lodge. Daily ferries and organised flights can whisk you away to this paradise in just 30 minutes.
This was a prison known as the Quad. Thousands of Aboriginal men and boys were incarcerated here, many of them tortured and killed. Today, it's a hotel with a luxury spa.
Australia must be, Noel, the only country that makes a tourist hotel out of a place of carnage. I can't think of another one. They're the obvious comparisons. But this is
I know
shocking,
what you're saying.
isn't
It's so degrading. We feel so, so traumatised about all of this. And you could imagine 7 people living, trying to be crammed into each cell. There's 3 cells here.
And the kind of conditions that they were living in?
The conditions they lived in initially when this was first built, they only had one vent above the door. That was it. And it gets really cold here and it gets really hot here.
This is obviously a family room. This is where the children go. They've got double bunks and the parents there.
And this room we're in is actually 3 rooms. In each cell, there's 3 of them here.
So 9.
17 people died in each cell.
17 people.
So in this expanse, you can see from that wall over there to there, 51 people have died.
And this is what people now pay $240
Is that
a
what
night.
they pay?
Yes, that's what it costs. We rented this room to do this interview.
Wow.
$240.
Unbelievable. And they don't have any idea what happened in here. No one tells them. No one lets them know. And I tell you what, if it was me, I would want to know what happened in the room that I sleep in. Just outside that window, that door, they built a gallows. They hung a Gascoigne man there. And the other prisoners that came down with him had never seen someone hung. And they were subjected to being lined up each side of the gallows. And the prisoners built the gallows that had already been here, and they watched as that man was hung. The impact it had on them, they were just stunned, and for days and days they were just mourning and wouldn't eat. So that's ticking over as well as what happened here. And you know, these people coming in here and staying here, this is what Aboriginal people are subjected to in Australia, the lucky country. I mean, lucky for who? Certainly not us. We're refugees in our own country.
Next to the hotel is one of Australia's largest mass graves. Over 300 Aboriginal prisoners are buried here. Until a few years ago, there was no sign indicating this was sacred ground. What was once the morgue is now the hotel kitchen. The manager of the hotel told me there were long-term plans to convert the quad prison to a memorial.
You see the burial ground and they just got no respect at all for the history of our people. Have all them unmarked graves with a sign talking about the place, but then you got a road right between it where the car can drive through and people can just walk and desecrate the areas of our ancestors' remains.